The stars looked different from the observation deck of the horizon's edge. Commander Hyan-Su stood with his hands behind his back, watching the massive station grow larger in the viewport. Apex Prime was the size of Earth's moon, a structure built by alien hands thousands of years before humans even discovered fire. Now it served as the meeting place for the Galactic Council, and humanity had been summoned. NAR. I approached from behind, her footsteps soft on the metal floor. She carried a data tablet, though Hyan-Su knew she had already memorized everything on it. She was that kind of person. Smart beyond measure, careful with details, and never comfortable unless she understood how things worked. "The council representatives are ready for us," she said quietly. All 12 species sent their senior members. That's unusual for a first contact situation. Hyan-Su nodded slowly. He had studied the reports carefully. The Galactic Council controlled most of the known galaxy. 12 species, each one older than humanity by thousands of years. Each one possessing technology that made human innovations look like stone tools. They had ships that could cross the galaxy in weeks, weapons that could destroy entire planets, shields that nothing seemed able to penetrate, and they had never lost a war. "They want to make an impression," Hyan-Su said. "Show us how small we are." The horizon's edge docked with a soft mechanical hiss. The airlock cycled, and the doors opened to reveal the interior of Apex Prime. The corridor beyond was enormous, built for species much larger than humans. The walls glowed with a soft blue light that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. The air tasted strange, processed by alien machines to accommodate a dozen different atmospheres. 2 guards waited for them. They were not human. One stood nearly 3 meters tall, with 4 arms and skin like polished stone. The other resembled something between a mantis and a wolf, covered in chitinous plates. Neither one spoke. They simply turned and began walking, expecting the humans to follow. Hyan-Su and Nari exchanged a glance. This was already going as expected. The council treated younger species like children at best and insects at worst. Humanity would be no different in their eyes. The council chamber was vast beyond imagination. The ceiling disappeared into darkness far above. 12 platforms rose from the floor in a circle, each one holding a representative from one of the elder species. At the center, a single small platform waited. That was where the humans were meant to stand. Hyan-Su and Nari took their positions. The platform rose slowly, lifting them 30 meters into the air. Now they could see the council members clearly. Most were unlike anything found on Earth. One appeared to be made entirely of crystal, light refracting through its body in rainbow patterns. Another floated in a tank of liquid, its tentacles drifting lazily. A third was composed of thousands of small, metallic spheres that constantly rearranged themselves into different shapes. The crystalline being spoke first. Its voice emerged from devices built into the platform, translating alien sounds into human language. "You are the representatives of species called humans. Your kind has been observed for 5 of your years. We have studied your technology, your culture, your history. We have made our judgment." Hyan-Su kept his face neutral. 5 years. That was when humanity first encountered a council scout ship near Jupiter. The meeting had not gone well. The scout ship had scanned human vessels, taken what data it wanted, and left without responding to any communication attempts. Humanity had tried to follow, but the alien ship simply vanished, moving faster than anything humans could build. "The Galactic Council extends to you an offer," the crystalline being continued. "You will join the Council as a tributary species. You will surrender control of your military forces. You will provide resources and labor as directed. You will accept Council governors on your homeworld. In exchange, you will receive protection and access to technologies appropriate for your development level." Nari's hand tightened on her tablet. Hyan Su could feel the anger radiating from her, but he remained calm. They had expected this. The council had made the same offer to dozens of species before. Most accepted. A few refused. Those who refused were no longer around to complain about it. And if we decline? Hyan Su asked. His voice echoed strangely in the enormous chamber. Another council member responded, this one resembling a massive insect with compound eyes that glittered like jewels. Then you will be declared a hostile species. Your star system will be quarantined. Any vessel attempting to leave will be destroyed. If you continue to resist, your civilization will be eliminated. This is the law of the galaxy. We have done this before, added a third voice, this one from something that looked like living smoke contained in a force field. 3 times in the last century. Species that believe themselves special. Species that refuse to accept their place. They no longer exist. Their worlds are empty now. We use them for mining operations. Hyan Su felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. This was not a negotiation. This was a sentencing. The council had already decided humanity's fate. This meeting was just a formality, a chance for them to demonstrate their power and generosity before crushing anyone foolish enough to resist. How long do we have to consider your offer? Nari asked. Her voice was steady, professional, but Hyan Su knew her well enough to hear the steel underneath, the crystalline being tilted slightly, light dancing across its facets. You have 48 of your hours. Return here with your decision. But know this, we are not beings who bargain. We are not beings who compromise. We have maintained order in this galaxy for 3,000 years. We have eliminated chaos, ended wars, brought peace to countless worlds. We do this through strength, through unity, through the absolute certainty that we cannot be challenged. The platform began to lower, returning Hyan Su and Nari to the floor. The audience was over. As they walked back toward their ship, neither one spoke. The guards followed at a distance, making sure the humans went where they were supposed to go. Only when they were back aboard the Horizon's Edge, with the airlock sealed and the ship preparing to undock, did Nari finally speak. They're going to attack us no matter what we say. You know that, right? This is just theater. They want us to submit, or they want an excuse to make an example of us. Hyan Su nodded slowly. He walked to the communications console and opened an encrypted channel. It would take several minutes for the message to reach Earth, even using the fastest human transmission technology. Admiral Tae Yang, he said into the recorder. The Council has made their position clear. We have 48 hours. It's time to activate Operation Blackout. Everything depends on the next 2 days. He closed the channel and looked out the viewport. Apex Prime was falling away behind them, growing smaller among the stars. Somewhere out there, the Council believed they had already won. They believed humanity would fall in line like every other species, broken by fear and overwhelming force. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Hyan Su allowed himself a small smile. The Council had made one critical mistake. They assumed humanity would react like every other species they had encountered. They assumed that because human technology appeared primitive, humans themselves must be primitive too. They were about to learn the difference between appearing weak and actually being weak. The Horizon's Edge jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving Apex Prime behind. Inside, Hyan Su and Nari began preparing their report. They had 48 hours. It would be enough. It had to be enough. The dark side of Earth's moon had always been hidden from view. Ancient humans had wondered what secrets it held, never knowing that one day their descendants would build something extraordinary there. The lunar shipyard stretched across hundreds of square kilometers, buried beneath the gray dust and rock. Invisible to any scan from orbit or beyond, Admiral Taeyang walked through the main construction bay with his hands clasped behind his back. Around him, thousands of workers moved like ants, each one focused on their assigned task. Ships hung suspended in massive cradles, their hulls still being assembled. These were not like the vessels that had carried Hyan-Su to meet the council. These were something entirely different. Engineer Minji caught up with him, carrying her ever-present work tablet. She was young, barely 30 years old, but she had been instrumental in designing the technology that might save humanity. Her hair was pulled back in a messy knot, and her clothes looked like she had slept in them. She probably had. "Admiral," she said, slightly out of breath, "we received the activation code from Commander Hyan-Su. Operation Blackout is officially live." Taeyang nodded. He had expected the call, but hearing it confirmed still sent a chill through him. Everything they had worked for over the past 5 years came down to the next 48 hours. Either humanity would survive, or it would become another footnote in the Council's long history of conquest. "Show me the status of the fleet," he said. Min-G tapped her tablet, and a holographic display materialized in the air before them. 27 ships appeared, rendered in blue light. Each one was smaller than the Council's massive warships, but what they lacked in size, they made up for in capability. "The Silent Thunder and her sister ships are ready," Minji said. "We finished the last installations yesterday. All systems are operational. The Phantom Drive has been tested extensively in simulations, and the limited field tests showed promising results." "Promising is not the same as certain," Taeyang said quietly. Minji bit her lip. "No, sir, it's not. But we're as ready as we're going to be." They walked toward one of the completed ships. The Silent Thunder hung in her cradle like a sleeping predator. Her hull was dark, almost black, covered in a material that absorbed sensor scans rather than reflecting them. Even in normal space, she would be difficult to detect. When the Phantom Drive activated, she would become essentially invisible. "Explain it to me again," Taeyang said. "In simple terms." Minji had explained the technology dozens of times, but she never seemed to tire of it. Her eyes lit up the way they always did when she talked about her work. Traditional faster-than-light travel moves a ship through normal space at speeds that exceed light. The Council's drives are incredibly efficient at this. They can cross vast distances very quickly. She gestured to the Silent Thunder. "The Phantom Drive works differently. Instead of moving faster through normal space, it shifts the ship slightly out of phase with our dimension. The ship exists in a parallel layer of reality where the normal rules don't quite apply. From our perspective, the ship disappears. From the ship's perspective, everything else becomes transparent. They can move through obstacles, avoid detection, and reappear anywhere they choose." "And the weapons?" Taeyang asked. Minji's expression became more serious. "The null cannons. They're based on the same principle as the Phantom Drive, but weaponized. When fired, they create a localized zone where the fundamental forces of physics temporarily cease to function. No strong nuclear force, no electromagnetic force. Everything in that zone simply falls apart at the atomic level." "And shields?" "Shields require physics to work," Minji said simply. "Energy barriers, force fields, whatever technology the Council uses. It all depends on the fundamental forces being stable and predictable. In a null zone, those forces don't exist. The shields just stop working." Taeyang was quiet for a moment. He had heard this before, but the implications still troubled him. "This technology is dangerous." "Even to us." "Yes, sir," Minji admitted. "The Phantom Drive requires enormous amounts of energy. We can only keep a ship phased for a limited time before the generators burn out. And the null cannons create zones of unstable physics. If we're not careful, they could affect our own ships. The weapons have a very limited range for that reason. We have to get close to ships that can destroy planets. Taeyang said, "Yes, sir." On the other side of the shipyard, Captain Jeho was conducting the final system checks on the Silent Thunder. He had been chosen to command the lead ship because of his record. Youngest pilot to achieve ace status in the Earth Defense Force. Highest scores in tactical simulation. Calm under pressure. He would need all of those qualities in the coming days. Jeho's crew was small, only 30 personnel. The Silent Thunder was designed to be fast and deadly, not comfortable. Most of the ship's interior was dedicated to the Phantom Drive and the null cannon systems. The crew quarters were cramped, the supplies were minimal. This was a ship built for striking hard and fast, not for long campaigns. "Captain," one of his officers called out, "we are receiving a priority transmission from Apex Prime." Jeho moved to the communications station. The message was from Nari, heavily encrypted. He entered his personal code, and her voice filled the small bridge. "Captain Jeho, this is Chief Science Officer Nari. I've managed to plant surveillance devices throughout Apex Prime. The data I'm gathering is being transmitted on this secure channel. What I've learned is troubling." The message paused, and Jeho could hear the tension in Nari's voice when it continued. "The Council is mobilizing their fleets ahead of schedule. We were told we have 48 hours, but I'm seeing movement that suggests they plan to attack within 24 hours. They're not interested in our answer. They've already decided to make an example of us. The meeting was just for show, to prove to the other Council species that they offered us a choice." Jeho felt his jaw tighten. He had suspected as much, but having it confirmed was different. "I'm sending you the fleet composition and movement patterns," Nari's message continued. 3,000 ships are being assembled. They're bringing enough firepower to sterilize Earth's entire solar system. Captain, they're not planning to conquer us. They're planning to erase us completely." The message ended. Jeho stood in silence for a moment, then turned to his communications officer. "Get me Admiral Taeyang. Priority 1. Minutes later, the Admiral's face appeared on the screen. Jeho relayed Nari's message. Taeyang listened without interruption, his expression growing darker with each word. "Our timeline just got cut in half," Taeyang said when Jeho finished. "We need to move now. Captain, is your ship ready for combat operations?" Jeho looked around the bridge. His crew was watching him, waiting. They all knew what was coming. They had all volunteered, knowing they might not survive. "The Silent Thunder is ready, sir," Jeho said firmly. "All sister ships report the same. We can launch within 6 hours. "Make it 4, Taeyang said. "The Council fleet will reach Earth in approximately 30 hours. We need to hit them before they establish formation. This is everything we've worked for, everything we've sacrificed. If the Phantom Drive fails, if the null cannons don't work as planned, humanity dies. No pressure, Captain." Jeho almost smiled. "Understood, sir. We won't let you down." The transmission ended. Jeho turned to his crew. "All hands, prepare for immediate launch. Combat loadout. Full power to all systems. This is not a drill." Throughout the shipyard, similar orders were being given. 27 ships began their final preparations. Crews boarded, systems powered up, weapons were armed. Minji moved from ship to ship, conducting last-minute checks, making small adjustments, whispering prayers to gods she wasn't sure she believed in. Admiral Taeyang stood in the command center, watching the organized chaos unfold. In 4 hours, humanity's secret fleet would launch. In 30 hours, they would meet the Council's armada. And then the galaxy would see what humans could do when pushed to the edge of extinction. He opened a communication channel to all ships simultaneously. This is Admiral Taeyang. In a few hours, we face an enemy that has never been defeated. They have technology beyond our understanding, numbers beyond our counting, power beyond our measuring. They believe we will fall like every other species that challenged them. He paused, looking at the faces on the screens before him. Young faces, old faces, scared faces, determined faces. All human. All willing to die for their species. They're wrong, he continued. We will show them that humanity does not go quietly into the dark. We will show them that we are not another conquest. We are the storm they never saw coming. Launch in 4 hours. Make every shot count. Make every second matter. For Earth, for humanity. For every species, the Council has crushed beneath their rule. The crews responded with a roar that echoed through the communication channels. Admiral Taeyang closed the link and returned to watching the preparations. 4 hours until launch. 30 hours until battle. The Council had no idea what was coming for them. The Council. Fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system like a swarm of metal locusts. 3,000 warships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. Their hulls gleamed in the distant light of the sun, covered in weapons that could reduce planets to ash. At the center of the formation, the command ship Eternal Judgment broadcast its message on all frequencies. Admiral Vexther of the Veltrax Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, his crystalline body refracting the light from a dozen displays. He had commanded fleets for 200 years. He had conquered 17 star systems. He had never lost a battle. Today would be no different. Humans of Earth, his message echoed across the solar system. Your time for decision has expired. You did not return to Apex Prime. You did not provide your answer. Your silence is taken as refusal. Under the laws of the Galactic Council, your species is hereby declared hostile. Your civilization is sentenced to termination. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and we will make your suffering last for generations. Vexther waited. His sensors showed him the primitive human stations scattered throughout their system. Small things barely worth noticing. A few orbital platforms around their homeworld. Some mining operations on the nearby moon. Nothing that could threaten his fleet. Nothing that could even slow him down. No response from the humans, one of his officers reported. Their stations are powering up weapons, but the energy signatures are minimal. Standard kinetic projectiles and low-yield missiles. Our shields will not even register the impacts. Vexther made a gesture that was the Veltrax equivalent of a nod. Begin the assault. Target their military stations first. Once those are eliminated, begin planetary bombardment. I want this finished before the cycle ends. The Council fleet began to advance. Thousands of ships moving in perfect formation, their shields glowing with contained energy. This was how it always went. The younger species saw the fleet and despaired. Some fought. Some begged. In the end, they all died the same way. Then space itself seemed to tear open. 27 ships materialized from nowhere, appearing directly in the middle of the Council formation. They were small, barely the size of Council escort vessels, but they moved with impossible speed. Before Vexther could even process what was happening, the human ships opened fire. The Silent Thunder fired its null cannons at point-blank range. The weapons made no sound in the vacuum of space, but their effect was immediate and terrifying. A sphere of distorted space expanded from the cannon, 50 kilometers in diameter. Inside that sphere, physics stopped working. The Council shield simply ceased to exist. Energy barriers that could withstand planet-destroying weapons flickered and died, not from being overwhelmed, but from the fundamental forces that powered them no longer functioning. For 3 seconds, the affected Council ships were completely vulnerable. 3 seconds was all Captain Jiho needed The human ships unleashed conventional weapons. Railguns firing magnetically accelerated projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. Missiles with high explosive warheads. Nothing fancy, nothing exotic. Just simple kinetic force applied to unprotected targets. Council warships exploded like bubbles. Hulls designed to laugh off nuclear weapons tore apart under the impact of simple metal slugs. Reactors breached, atmosphere vented into space. And crew members died without ever understanding what had killed them. 17 Council ships died in the first 10 seconds of battle. All vessels. Evasive Pattern Delta. Kehoe commanded. The Silent Thunder and her sister ships activated their phantom drives. One moment they were there, visible on every sensor. The next moment they simply vanished, phasing out of normal space. On the Eternal Judgment, chaos erupted. Vexther's bridge crew shouted reports at once, their voices overlapping in panic. He had never heard panic before. Not in 200 years of military service. The human ships have disappeared. Sensors show no trace. We've lost 17 vessels. No, wait, 23 vessels. The count keeps rising. Shield failure across the fleet. The phenomenon is spreading. Whatever they're using, it's disabling our defensive systems. Vexther forced himself to remain calm. All ships, establish defensive sphere formation. Point defense systems to maximum. Launch all fighter craft. They cannot have disappeared. They must be using some kind of cloaking technology. Find them. But the human ships were not cloaked. They existed in a layer of reality, just adjacent to normal space, able to see out but impossible to detect from the inside. They moved through the Council fleet like ghosts, appearing only long enough to fire their weapons before vanishing again. The Silent Thunder phased back into normal space directly behind a Council battleship. The null cannons fired again. Shields died. Railguns fired. The battleship split in half, both pieces tumbling away into the dark. The human ship vanished before the Council fleet could return fire. This happened again and again. Human ships appearing, firing, disappearing. The Council fleet tried to adapt, tried to predict where the humans would appear next, but there was no pattern. The attacks seemed random, striking everywhere at once. Overwhelming the Council's ability to respond. NAR, I watched the battle unfold from the horizon's edge. Still docked at Apex Prime, she had tapped into the Council's communication networks using her surveillance devices. The encrypted military channels were full of desperate messages. This is impossible. One Council captain screamed over the channel. Nothing can bypass our shields like this. Nothing can hide from our sensors. What are they using? Dimensional warfare, Nari whispered to herself. She was recording everything, documenting this moment for humanity's archives. If they survived, this would be remembered as the day everything changed. Hyan-Su stood beside her, watching the tactical display. The Council fleet was in disarray. Ships were breaking formation, trying to escape, colliding with each other in their panic. In 15 minutes of combat, humanity had destroyed or disabled over 700 Council vessels. They're retreating, he said, almost not believing his own words. The Council is actually retreating. On the Eternal Judgment, Admiral Vexther made the hardest decision of his long career. His fleet was being destroyed. His sensors could not track the enemy. His shields could not protect his ships. Every second he remained in this system, he lost more vessels and more crew. All ships, emergency faster than light jump. Scatter pattern. Rendezvous at Rally Point Omega. Move now. The Council fleet began to jump away. Not in the organized formations they had arrived in, but in desperate individual leaps, each ship fleeing to save itself. In 20 minutes, the battle was over. The human fleet regrouped near Earth's moon. Ji-Ho conducted a quick damage assessment. 3 ships had sustained minor damage from near misses. 1 ship's phantom drive had failed and required immediate repairs. But they had suffered no losses, no casualties. Against a fleet of 3,000 ships, humanity had lost nothing. On Apex Prime, the council chamber was in chaos. Representatives shouted at each other in a dozen different languages. The crystalline Veltrax representative was literally shaking, fragments of its body breaking off and shattering on the floor. How is this possible? One council member demanded, "We are the elder species. We are the masters of this galaxy. How can these primitive humans have developed technology we cannot even understand? They have dimensional travel," another member said. "They have physics-disrupting weapons. In 5 years, they have gone from barely achieving faster-than-light travel to surpassing everything we have built in 3,000 years. Then we destroy them completely," the Veltrax representative said, its voice distorted with rage. "We gather every ship from every system. We deploy the extinction fleet. We use the world-breaker weapons if we must. These humans cannot be allowed to exist. They are a threat to everything we have built." Hyen Su turned away from the window, looking at Nari. "They're going to come back, with everything they have." "I know," Nari said quietly. "We won this battle, but we can't win a war. Not against the entire council. We have 27 ships. They have millions of ships across thousands of systems. Then we need to make sure they understand the cost of continuing this fight," Hyen Su said. "We need to show them that even if they win, we'll make them pay a price. They're not willing to accept." He moved to the communications console and opened a channel to Earth. Admiral Taeyang's face appeared on the screen. "We saw," the Admiral said before Hyen Su could speak. "The entire solar system watched. Every human alive saw the council fleet run away. For the first time in our history, we're not the underdogs. We're the monsters in the dark. They'll be back," Hyen Su said. "Stronger, more prepared. They'll figure out countermeasures to our technology. We need Phase 2. Admiral Taeyang was quiet for a long moment. "The Cascade Protocol. It's never been tested on this scale. Engineer Minji says there's a 30% chance it tears holes in spacetime itself, and a 70% chance it works," Hyen Su replied. "Those are better odds than we had an hour ago." The Admiral nodded slowly. "Prepare for Phase 2. And Commander, this time we're not waiting for them to come to us. We're taking the fight to their home systems. Let's show the Council what it feels like to be afraid." The transmission ended. Around Earth, humanity prepared for the next phase of a war they had never wanted, but would finish on their own terms. The Emergency War Summit convened in the deepest levels of Apex Prime, in chambers that had not been used for 1,000 years. Representatives from all 12 council species gathered in physical form, not through holographic projection. This was too important for remote attendance. The attack on their fleet had shaken the foundation of everything they believed. The crystalline Veltrax representative spoke first, its voice cold with fury. "In 3,000 years, the Council has never retreated from battle. Never. We have crushed civilizations that dared to resist us. We have made examples of entire species. And now, a race of primitives has humiliated us in front of the entire galaxy. This cannot stand." A being of living shadow, representing the Morkai Collective, shifted in its containment field. "We underestimated them. They possess technology we did not anticipate. This is a failure of our intelligence gathering." "Intelligence failures can be corrected," the Veltrax said. "But our reputation cannot be rebuilt through investigation. It requires action. Immediate, overwhelming action." Another council member, a floating mass of tentacles from the Aquarian depths, spoke in a voice like underwater echoes. You proposed the extinction fleet, but those vessels have not been deployed in 500 years. The weapons they carry are from the previous galactic civilization. We do not fully understand them ourselves, which is precisely why we must use them, the Veltrax said. The humans have shown they can match our conventional forces. We must respond with weapons that have no counter. The world-breaker devices can ignite stars. They can tear planets apart from the inside. Let the humans try to phase shift when their entire solar system is consumed by fire. The Council voted. It was not unanimous, but it did not need to be. The majority agreed. The extinction fleet would be deployed. 12,000 ships, including 30 vessels carrying the ancient world-breaker weapons. Enough firepower to sterilize 100 solar systems. On Earth, Admiral Tae Young stood in the command center, reviewing reports that grew grimmer by the hour. The victory over the Council fleet had bought them time, but not much. His analysts had calculated that humanity could field perhaps 50 ships with Phantom drives if they stripped every resource available. The Council could field millions. Minji entered the command center, her face drawn with exhaustion. She had not slept in 2 days, working constantly on the next phase of humanity's desperate defense. The Cascade Protocol is ready, she said without preamble. Or as ready as it's going to be. I've run the simulations 300 times. 70% chance of success, 15% chance of partial success, 15% chance of catastrophic failure. Define catastrophic, Taeyang said. Minji pulled up a holographic display. The null cannons create localized zones where physics breaks down. The Cascade Protocol chains these zones together, creating a wave that spreads at faster than light speeds. If it works, every shield in an entire star system fails simultaneously. But if the cascade becomes unstable, it could create permanent rifts in space-time. Artificial black holes. Reality tears. Things that make nuclear weapons look harmless. And we have no way to test it without risking that outcome? No, sir. The scale required for testing is the same scale we'd use in actual combat. We either use it and hope it works, or we don't use it at all. Taeyang was quiet for a moment. And if we don't use it, what are our chances? Against the extinction fleet? 0, sir. They'll stay out of phantom drive range and just bombard us from distance. Even if we destroy 1,000 ships, they'll have 11,000 more. We can't win a conventional war, even with our new technology. A communication alert interrupted them. Taeyang accepted the call, and a young woman appeared on the screen. Scout Pilot Dae-yoon, one of their best reconnaissance operators. She was broadcasting from deep in Council space, her ship hidden in the shadow of a gas giant. Admiral, I have critical intelligence, Dae-yoon said quickly. I've been observing Council core systems for the past 18 hours. They're evacuating civilian populations from their homeworlds. All of them. They're moving billions of people to deep space stations. Taeyang felt his blood run cold. Why would they evacuate their own people? Because they're not planning to capture Earth, Dae-yoon replied. They're planning to destroy it completely. And they don't want any witnesses to what they're about to do. Sir, I've intercepted communications. They're bringing something called world-breaker weapons. I don't know exactly what they do, but the Council members I've been monitoring are afraid of them. One of them called it genocide insurance. Whatever they're planning, it's designed to erase us from existence. The transmission ended as Dae-yoon's ship jumped back to human space. Taeyang turned to Minji. How long until the extinction fleet arrives? Based on their speed and our last known positions, 72 hours. Maybe less if they push their engines. 72 hours. 3 days to save humanity. Hyen-Su and Nari returned from Apex Prime on an emergency fast transit. They had gathered as much intelligence as possible before the Council locked down their systems. Now they stood in the command center with Admiral Te Zhang and Engineer Min Ji studying a star map of Council space. "We can't defend," Hyan Su said bluntly. "Even with the Cascade Protocol, we're reacting to them. They choose when and where to attack. They choose the terms of engagement. We need to change that." "You're suggesting we attack their homeworlds," Taeyang said. It was not a question. "Yes, sir. We have 27 functional ships with phantom drives. We send them all, split into 3 groups, targeting the 3 most important Council systems simultaneously. The Veltrax homeworld, the Tolmora Military Command Center, and the Council's primary shipyard network." Nari pulled up data on her tablet. The Veltrax homeworld is their cultural center and the seat of Council political power. The Tolmora Command Center coordinates all Council military operations across the galaxy. The shipyards produce 80% of their new vessels. If we hit all 3 at once, we decapitate their leadership, blind their military, and cripple their ability to build new ships. "With 27 ships," Mingji said skeptically, "against systems that are defended by hundreds of thousands of vessels." "That's where the Cascade Protocol comes in," Hyan Su said. "We don't need to destroy every defender. We just need to disable their shields long enough to cause chaos. Hit critical infrastructure. Make them afraid. Show them that nowhere is safe." Admiral Taeyang studied the map. It was a desperate plan, relying on too many things going right and nothing going wrong. But every alternative was worse. "There's one more thing we need to do," Nari said quietly. "We need to tell everyone what the Council is planning. Every species in the galaxy needs to know that the Council is willing to commit genocide to maintain power. Right now, the other species see the Council as protectors. We need to show them the truth." "A propaganda campaign," Taeyang said. "During a military strike. Information is a weapon too," Nari replied. "The Council rules through fear and the illusion of invincibility. We've already shattered the invincibility. If we can shatter the fear, if we can show the subjugated species that the Council will kill anyone who threatens them, we might spark rebellions. Even if we fail, even if humanity is destroyed, we can leave the Council with a galaxy full of enemies." Taeyang looked at each of them in turn. Hyan Su, the tactical genius who had faced down the Council without flinching. Nari, the scientist who had turned espionage into an art form. Min Ji, the engineer who had given humanity weapons that seemed impossible. And somewhere out in the dark, Daeyun and the other scouts were gathering intelligence, risking their lives every second. "We have 3 days," he said finally. "We'll use them. Hyan Su, coordinate with Captain J. Ho. I want attack plans for all 3 target systems. Nari, prepare your information warfare package. Everything we know about Council atrocities, their plans for Earth, their world-breaker weapons. Make it undeniable. Min Ji, get the Cascade Protocol ready for deployment. If we're going to risk tearing holes in reality, we might as well do it in their space, not ours." He stood, looking at the display, showing Earth and its moon. Somewhere down there, billions of humans were going about their lives, not knowing how close they were to extinction. 3 days from now, we hit the Council with everything we have, Taeyang continued. We show them what humanity does when backed into a corner. We show them that we're not prey. We're not victims. We're the species that fights back, even when victory is impossible. Even if we lose, we'll make them remember us. The galaxy will remember that humans did not go quietly into the dark. Orders went out across the human fleet. Ships prepared for the longest, most dangerous mission in human history. Crews said goodbye to families they might never see again. Engineers conducted final checks on systems that might save or doom them. Intelligence officers compiled data that would be broadcast to every corner of the galaxy dot, and in the deep black between stars, the Council's extinction fleet continued its approach. 12,000 ships, carrying weapons old and terrible, aimed at one small blue planet that dared to say no now that the countdown had begun. The human fleet divided into 3 groups, each one assigned an impossible target. 9 ships would strike the Veltrax homeworld. 9 would hit the Tolmora Military Command Center. And 9, led by Captain J. Ho in the Silent Thunder, would assault the Council's primary shipyard network. They jumped to faster-than-light travel simultaneously, vanishing from Earth's solar system like ghosts. On the bridge of the Silent Thunder, Ji Ho reviewed the mission parameters one final time. The shipyards orbited a red giant star in the Kepler sector, defended by 300 warships and protected by defensive stations that could destroy a planet. Under normal circumstances, attacking such a target would be suicide. But these were not normal circumstances. Phantom drive charging, his helmsman reported. We'll phase shift in 3 minutes. Ji Ho opened a communication channel to his small fleet. All ships, remember the plan. We phase in, activate the Cascade Protocol, and hit every reactor we can reach. The goal is not to fight. The goal is to break things and make them afraid. Stay together, watch each other's backs, and if your drive fails, jump to normal faster than light and run for home. Understood? 8 voices acknowledged. Ji Ho took a deep breath. In 3 minutes, they would either change history or become a footnote in humanity's extinction. The 9 ships dropped out of faster than light, travel at the edge of the shipyard system. Immediately, alarms began blaring on Council vessels. The defenders scrambled to intercept, but before they could even establish targeting locks, the human ships activated their phantom drives and disappeared. J. Ho watched the shipyards appear on his phase-shifted sensors like transparent ghosts. Massive construction frames held partially built warships. Reactor stations glowed with contained energy. Hundreds of Council workers moved through the facilities, unaware of the death that was about to visit them. All ships, J. Ho commanded. Activate Cascade Protocol on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. Engineer Minji had described the Cascade Protocol as a chain reaction of broken physics. From the Silent Thunder, the Ethic. T looked like reality itself was tearing apart. A sphere of distorted space expanded from the ship, moving faster than light, spreading across the entire star system in seconds. Every shield in the system failed simultaneously. Defensive stations, warships, even the protective barriers around the construction facilities. All of them simply stopped working as the fundamental forces that powered them ceased to exist. The effect lasted 15 seconds. 15 seconds of absolute vulnerability. The human ships phased back into normal space and opened fire. Null cannons created zones of impossible physics. Railguns fired streams of projectiles at near-light speed. Missiles with conventional warheads found their targets with perfect accuracy. The shipyards began to explode. Not the massive theatrical explosions from entertainment videos, but the cold, efficient destruction of critical systems. Reactors breached. Structural frames collapsed. Partially built warships tore themselves apart as containment fields failed. Within minutes, 300 years of construction work turned to expanding clouds of debris. But the Cascade Protocol had not been stable. Ji Ho saw the readings on his instruments and felt his heart sink. The wave of broken physics was not dissipating as Min Ji had predicted. It was spreading, feeding on itself, growing stronger. All ships, emergency jump, he ordered. Get out of the system now. 7 ships managed to activate their faster-than-light drives and escape. 2 ships, their engines damaged in the attack, were not fast enough. The cascade wave overtook them. and they simply ceased to exist as the fabric of space-time tore itself apart where they had been. The silent thunder jumped to safety with seconds to spare. Behind them, the cascade wave continued to expand, consuming the shipyards, the defending fleet, and finally, the red giant star itself. The star did not explode. It simply vanished, erased from existence, as the space it occupied stopped being able to contain matter.Chiho, stared at the empty space where a star system had been moments before. They had succeeded in their mission, but the cost was higher than anyone had anticipated. At the Veltrax homeworld, a similar scene played out. 9 human ships struck from impossible angles, disabling shields, destroying infrastructure, and broadcasting Nari's information package on every frequency. The crystalline cities of the Veltrax shattered under railgun fire. Government buildings collapsed. And across every screen, every communication device, the evidence of Council atrocities played on repeat. Images of the extinction fleet being prepared. Recordings of Council members discussing the complete destruction of Earth. Proof that the Council had committed genocide 3 times in the past century, wiping out entire species to maintain their power. The broadcast reached beyond the Veltrax homeworld. It reached every planet in Council space, transmitted on frequencies that could not be blocked or jammed. Billions of beings from hundreds of species learned the truth about the organization that ruled them. The Council was not a benevolent protector. It was a regime maintained through fear and mass murder. At the Tolmora Military Command Center, Hyan Su led the assault personally. His 9 ships phased in, disabled the shields with the Cascade Protocol, and boarded the facility. They did not destroy it. They captured it. Nari accompanied the boarding team, moving through the corridors with practiced efficiency. The Tolmora soldiers tried to resist, but human weapons in a shieldless environment were devastating. Within an hour, the command center was under human control. Nari sat at the primary communications terminal, her fingers flying over alien controls. She had studied Council systems for 5 years, learning their languages, their protocols, their security measures. Now that knowledge paid off. "I'm in," she reported to Hyan Su. "I have access to their entire military network. Fleet positions, communication codes, command structures. Everything? Download it all," Hyan Su ordered. "We're taking it with us." But Nari had a better idea. "No, we're broadcasting it. Every subjugated species in the galaxy is going to know where the Council fleets are, where they're weak, when they're vulnerable. Let's see them maintain order when every oppressed world has the tools to fight back." She initiated the broadcast. Across the galaxy, resistance movements that had been suppressed for centuries suddenly had intelligence they could never have obtained on their own. The locations of Council fleets, the schedules of supply convoys, the deployment patterns of occupation forces. Within hours, rebellions began to spark across dozens of worlds. The human strike teams regrouped in neutral space, counting their losses. 6 ships had been destroyed across the 3 operations. 43 crew members dead. But the damage they had inflicted was incalculable. The Council's primary shipyards no longer existed. Their homeworld was in ruins. Their military command structure was compromised. And most importantly, their reputation was shattered. The myth of Council invincibility had died. On Apex Prime, the Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives shouted at each other, blaming, threatening, demanding action. The crystalline Veltrax representative was barely recognizable, its body cracked and dull, pieces continuously breaking off as stress fractures spread through its structure. "They attacked our homeworlds." One Council member screamed. "They destroyed our shipyards. They've turned half the galaxy against us. How is this possible? They're primitives. They're barely past their own star system." "They were never primitives," another member said quietly. We made the mistake of judging them by their technology instead of their capability. We assumed that because they built slowly, they thought slowly. We were wrong. A priority transmission interrupted the argument. It came from the extinction fleet, still in transit to Earth's solar system. Admiral Vexter appeared on the display, his crystalline form flickering with distortion. "Council members," he said formally, "I have received intelligence that human forces have struck our core systems. I have also received a transmission from the humans. They are offering terms." "Terms?" The Veltrax representative said, its voice barely more than a whisper. "They dare to offer us terms?" "They have captured the Tulmora command center intact," Vexter continued. "They have access to our military networks. They have broadcast evidence of our actions to every species in the galaxy. And they have sent me a message. They will release everything they have captured. Every command code, every fleet position, every secret the Council has kept for 3,000 years. They will give it to every species we have subjugated, unless we agree to their terms." The Council chamber fell silent. Admiral Taeyong's face appeared on the display. Transmitted from Earth. He looked tired, but his voice was steady and strong. "Members of the Galactic Council," he said, "you came to our world offering us a choice. Submit or die. We have shown you that there is a third option. Fight back and make you regret it." He paused, letting his words sink in. "We did not want this war. We asked only to be left alone, to develop at our own pace, to make our own choices. You refused. You came to destroy us, to make an example of us, to show the galaxy that resistance is futile. Instead, you have shown them that resistance is possible." Another pause. "Here are our terms. The Galactic Council will cease all military operations against Earth immediately. You will withdraw your extinction fleet. You will recognize humanity as an independent species with full rights to self-determination. And you will reform. No more tributary species. No more forced integration. No more genocide for any species that refuses to obey. And if we refuse?" The Veltrax representative managed to ask. Taeyong's expression did not change. "Then we release everything. Every code, every secret, every crime you have committed in 3,000 years of rule. We turn the entire galaxy against you. You may destroy Earth, but you will spend the next century fighting rebellions on 1,000 worlds. Your empire will collapse. Your species will be hunted. And when history remembers this moment, it will remember that humanity died free while the Council died in chains." The Council members looked at each other. Some wanted to refuse, to fight, to maintain their power at any cost. But others, the older and wiser ones, understood the truth. The humans had won, not through superior numbers or technology, but through pure determination and the willingness to fight even when victory seemed impossible. The vote was taken. It was not unanimous, but it did not need to be. The Council agreed to humanity's terms. 2 months later, Hyun-Soo stood on the observation deck of the horizon's edge, watching Earth grow larger in the viewport. The blue planet looked the same as it always had, but everything about humanity's place in the galaxy had changed. Nari joined him, carrying 2 cups of coffee from the ship's mess. "The Reformed Council is meeting next week. We're invited as full members, not as tributaries. Equal voice, equal vote. Do you think they mean it?" Hyun-Soo asked. "Or are they just waiting for a chance to strike back?" "Some of them probably are," Nari admitted. "But others understand that the old way is finished. We showed every species in the galaxy that the Council could be challenged. That power built on fear is fragile. Things will never go back to the way they were." Hyun-Soo sipped his coffee, thinking about everything that had happened. The desperate battles, the impo,